Well, hey, you. How are you doing today? I hope that you're doing well. I thought that you might be interested today in seeing my collection of the Farm Journal Cookbooks that I've collected over the years. I have quite a few of them, and if you like to cook and you like history and you like good recipes, I think you're going to enjoy this. And I wrote down some information about the Farm Journal if you're not familiar with it. And First of all, the Farm Journal was a magazine, and I'm not sure if it's still in publication or not, but I wrote down a few things and I'm going to read this to you right quick. It says the Farm Journal magazine has a rich history deeply intertwined with the agricultural landscape of America. Founded in 1877 by Wilmer Atkinson and John Davis, the magazine initially began as a publication aimed at providing practical advice and information to farmers. It quickly gained popularity among rural communities due to its useful content and straightforward writing style. In its early years, the Farm Journal primarily focused on agricultural topics such as crop cultivation, livestock management, and farm economics. However, it also featured articles on rural lifestyle, family life, and homemaking, reflecting the diverse interests and concerns of its readership. It says the recipe section of the magazine became so popular that they decided to start creating cookbooks. Nell B. Nichols was a home economist who was born in Dodge City, Kansas in 1895, and she died in 1984. So even though she lived long before the internet, she was an influencer. And now I found a great resource that talked about her life and her history. It is extensive too, and I'll leave a link to the lady's website down in the description box below so you can go explore that if you're interested. But the Farm Journal cookbooks hold a special place in the culinary history of America, offering a glimpse into the heart of rural kitchens and traditional cooking. At the helm of these iconic cookbooks was Nell B. Nichols, whose editorial prowess and dedication to preserving the culinary heritage of American farm kitchens made her a revered figure in the world of cooking literature. And let's see. This is just some more about her, but it just says, let me just say this one last piece. It says, beyond just recipes, Nichols infused the Farm Journal cookbooks with helpful cooking tips, kitchen hacks, and personal anecdotes, making them not only informative but also engaging and enjoyable to read. Her writing style was warm and approachable, inviting readers into the world of farm kitchens and encouraging them to explore new flavors and techniques. So they're really fun because there are so many of them, and this is just a sampling. I just have 5 of them, but I have used these extensively over the years, and I had never heard of them until I became a member of Mary Jane's Farm. Now, I don't know if any of y'all know who Mary Jane Butters is, but she had a website, and I believe, goodness, I can't even remember the name of the website now, but she had a magazine, and then she had a website, and then she had a community. So this was before Facebook. This was back in 2006. My family and I had just moved to the little farmhouse that we own, and that's when we started we were homeschooling our children. And then I wanted to live the homesteading life. My husband said he was going to work, and if I needed something done, he would do it, but he wasn't going to be a farmer. He was gonna go work his regular job, and I could pretend to be a farmer all day. And so we did. We had so much fun. But anyway, that's that's how I was introduced to the Farm Journal, because of being in the Mary Jane Butters group, the Farm Girl group. So let me go through some of these. I'm going to show you some of my favorite things throughout some of these, and I think that you're really going to enjoy this. And then afterward, if you are interested in purchasing some of these, I think I bought mine mostly from thrift books or eBay is where I got most of mine. I did pick up one at a discarded library sale years ago, but so let's see here. I think I want to start. Let's start with the Farm Journal's homemade snacks first. So this says how to eat better when you eat on the run. 200 nutritious recipes for mini meals and between meal nibbling. And this is by Nell B. Nichols, Farm Journal Field Food Editor. So here's just a little bit of information. It says grocery shopping for good nutrition. And it says whatever a snack means at your house, munching in front of the television or something to eat instead of a meal, this book shows you how to enjoy casual eating without shortchanging good nutrition. Homemade Snacks offers a plan of eating that can help anyone achieve a sound diet, even if you eat on the run. It's also a guide for homemakers whose meal plans compete with busy family activities. Because today, snacking often means filling up on empty calories, the recipes in this book have been developed to use the basic foods needed for good nutrition: meat, eggs, bread and cereals, fruits and vegetables, dairy products. And the happy fact is these recipes all taste delicious and enhance the food value of popular snacks. There's candy that's partly cereal, cookies that also give you bits of fruit, whole grain breads that add nutrients to whatever you serve with them. Is ice cream one of your family's snack habits? You're on the right path, and this book suggests new ways to enjoy it. Even with 3 square meals a day, there's a need for snack planning if you have active teenagers or habitual nibblers in the family. Chapter 8 tells how to make snacks count in each day's nutrition, with menus for the day plus suggested fill-in snacks. Chapter 9 takes you through the food market to plan the variety of food your shopping list should include for peak nutrition. Eating right is your family's least expensive health insurance. And that is so true. Oh my goodness, that is so true. So I'm just going to go through a few little things in each one of the books here. This one was written, let me see if I can find a date. Let's see, this was written in 1976. And the chapters include Nibbles That Nourish, Chapter 1, Chapter 2, Snack But Stay Slim. Chapter 3, Capitalize on Fruits and Vegetables. Chapter 4, Breads with a Health Bonus. Chapter 5, Milk, Still the Dependable. Chapter 6, Substantial Snacks for Meal Missers. Chapter 7, Sweets to Eat with a Better Conscience. Chapter 8, Make Snacks Count in the Day's Meals. And Chapter 9, Grocery Shopping for Good Nutrition. So let me just go through here right quick, because it says Chapter 1 with the Nibbles That Nourish. There's a recipe for a cereal snack mix, which it's basically Chex Party mix, because it calls for butter and Worcestershire sauce, but it looks good. And then there's popcorn cereal crunch, country style granola, peppy popcorn. Now that looks pretty good. It calls for popcorn, a can of shoestring potatoes, a jar of dry roasted mixed nuts, Parmesan cheese, butter, chili powder, garlic, and onion salt. Now that really sounds pretty good. I may have to go down there and make me some of that now. And let's see, corn nut toffee, date coconut balls, casserole date cookies. Casserole. Shape these confections after baking. Golden apricot logs. Zesty cheese dip. Oh, that sounds good. Tuna nibblers. Let's see. It's a colorful, protein-filled, and tasty snack. If you must have an accompaniment, choose a crisp cracker or two. Slimmer's deviled eggs. I guess they call it Slimmers because they use skim milk. Oh, gazpacho. That doesn't really sound like a snack, though. That's more like a little meal. Yogurt cucumber soup. Ooh, that sounds so good. That sounds like tzatziki. Yeah, let's see. Yeah, yogurt, water, cucumbers, parsley, green onion, salt, dill weed, and pepper. Ooh, good with tuna sandwiches. I may have to make this next week. And then let's see. Oh my heavens, butterscotch pumpkin pudding. Oh boy. And let's see what else. And then they've got little drinks in here. Punch. And they've got relishes and breads. And just, it is filled. Oh, and then they've got, okay, so then they've got, this is neat. They've got a bunch of different drinks. And so they've got something called a grape frost. So you mix a 1/4 cup of milk, 2 tablespoons of frozen grape juice concentrate, 1 tablespoon of frozen orange juice concentrate, and then vanilla ice cream. And they've got a recipe for strawberry malt. And it calls for milk, frozen strawberries, vanilla ice cream, and malted milk mix. Do you like malted milk? I haven't bought it in a long time. What was that chocolate? Was it malto meal? Is that the chocolate drink mix? That was tasty. So they have all kinds of good drinks. And then bologna sandwiches. Well, Lord, I don't think you need a recipe book to tell you how to make a bologna sandwich, but let's see, oven, freezer, meatballs. So, and then they've got cakes in here too. So all sorts of delicious recipes in this homemade snacks book from the Farm Journal. So let's put that right there. All right, so our next book is Homemade Candy by the food editors of Farm Journal. And let's see, this one was written in 1970, so it's older than the snack book. And this says, become a good candy cook, and you'll always know what to take to a hostess, what to send to servicemen, and what to pass to guests who stop by for a visit. Almost everyone indulges a sweet tooth, especially when the candy's homemade. Candy solves your gift problems. Do y'all make candy? Have you ever tried your hand at making candy? I used to live in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee, and then we would go to work with my father every Sunday. He was a radio announcer, and we would go. He worked in Gatlinburg, and there was a little candy kitchen that was in, if you're familiar with it, it's called Brookside Village, and there was a little a mom and pop candy store, and as a matter of fact, the people's names were Johnston, Mr. and Mrs. Johnston. I wound up going to church with them later, but they made candy, and my brother and I would sit and watch them making the candy in the windows. But I became fascinated with candy making at that time. I'd never known anybody who made candy prior to that. Nobody in my family really made it. And so watching them make it smelled wonderful, first of all, but then it tasted so good. They give us free samples. And then it wasn't until I met my mother-in-law to be, she was the first person that I ever remember knowing who made candy. We ate candy like crazy, but I never knew people who made it. And she was from the hills of Kentucky. She was from eastern Kentucky, and she used to make this candy that was called potato candy, mashed potato candy, and it was like a white candy, but then it had peanut butter in the center, and she kind of rolled it and then sliced it. It looked like little pinwheels. It was so good. It was so good. So that was kind of my first introduction to homemade candy, and I was 15 before I really tasted any, except for like the kinds you get at the little candy stores. But anyway, if you have never made your own, I encourage you to get a little candy making book and try to make some for yourself, because it's a lot of fun, and there's so many different variations you can do to make it delicious. Uh-oh, it's starting to thunder outside. So this gives instructions on how to make perfect candy, and candy making is a science, like bread baking is a science, and how jam making can be scientific too, in that your weather affects your candy a great deal. So if you start to try to make candy on a night that it's raining, like tonight, sometimes your candy won't make correctly. Temperatures have to be at a certain level, I have found over the years, in order to make some things turn out correctly. But you'll learn that if you start making it. Having a candy thermometer is very important too, and it lists that in this book here. But let's read a few things. It says major ingredient in candy making, major ingredients. So it talks about sugars. Sugar is the heroine of the candy. Sugar is the heroine of the candy story. Heroine. So the female of hero, not the drug. But it is kind of a drug, sugar. But anyway, all right, so they talk about granulated superfine confectioners and brown sugar, colored sugar, cubed sugar, and special sugar. And it talks about syrups like corn syrup, honey, maple, molasses. And other ingredients for candy making include butter, cream, canned milk, dry milk, flavorings and extracts, chocolate, food colors, coconut, gelatin, fruits, nuts, marshmallows, popcorn too. Like for popcorn balls. And so the first recipe here is for fudge. And let's read it right quick. No, it's a little bit different. Did y'all see our friend Kim with Angel on My Shoulder making that fudge the other day when she was making candy for a bake sale? That looks so good. I wanted to lick the spoon. Oh, extra good black walnut fudge. Now, I think I would love that. Black walnut chocolate fudge. Oh, and you know what would be good? Is if you used like home cooked, if you used home cracked walnuts. Peanut butter fudge. Now I do love that. So they have fudges, and then they have something called Remarkable Buttermilk Candy. Try this country relative of fudge and see why it's so popular. And so you need buttermilk, baking soda, sugar, corn syrup, butter, and pecans. I may have to try that. Yankee style maple syrup fudge. Mexican orange candy. Now, I love anything orange. Okay, so we'll skip past the fudges. Now, these were at Country Kitchen cream candies. So we've got sour cream candy, light opera creams, now I don't know how to say this word, old-fashioned penuche, Penuche. Every woman cherishes a few recipes because they have a special meaning to her. Brown sugar fudge or penuche appears on the list of one of our food editors. She associates it with her mother's kitchen, a saucepan of soft bubbling, low-boiling brown sugar syrup, the mixture beaten to creaminess with plenty of pecans in it, and youngsters gathering round for the first taste. Sometimes during the cooking, the acid in brown sugar curdles the milk in the candy. If you're a new penuche cook, don't worry. When you beat the cooked and cooled candy before pouring it to a pan, the curdles vanish. So y'all have to tell me if I'm even pronouncing that right. But they have nut, maple, coffee, and Mexican. What? Sauerkraut candy? Wait a second. I don't know about that. Okay. I don't think it really has sauerkraut in it. Okay, yeah, it says the sauerkraut is shredded coconut. Okay, this is fun. Okay, divinity. Do y'all like divinity? Divinity and nougat. So there's a basic recipe for divinity, but then they have variations. So they've got pink peppermint drops, vanilla chocolate, raspberry pink divinity, strawberry, brown sugar, maple sugar, chocolate ripple. Oh my heavens. Double divinity, red hot divinity. So you put red hot candies in it. And then sea foam. It says sea foams are half sisters of divinity. They're a bit harder but luscious. Grandma liked the name and the candy. And then this one is fruited sea foam, and you put candied mixed fruits in it. And then they have recipe for American style nougat. Oh, and then they have dipping chocolates for Christmas. And what I find neat is they also have a big section. It says centers for dipped chocolates. So you could make like a basic cream fondant, and then you can use that to dip into your chocolate and let it dry. You talk about good. Oh, they've got a cherry nut fondant recipe, chocolate fondant, coconut candy centers. Well, here we go. Pioneer potato candy. So yeah, this is like what my mother-in-law made, I think. It has a cup of warm, unseasoned mashed potato, salt, vanilla, confectioner's sugar, and then this calls for chocolate coating, but so it's a little different than my mother-in-law's, but very similar. It has a recipe for truffles and marshmallow Easter eggs and royal icing and almond cream, toffee, brittle, peanut brittle, filbert brittle, Slovakian nut candy. I remember the first time I ever made peanut brittle. I was so pleased because it tastes so good, and you can't believe that you can come up with something like that in your own kitchen. You're so proud when you come up with something like that and it turns out. Oh, unforgettable caramel pecan logs. Have you ever had a pecan log from Stuckey's, the gas station? Oh, this is so neat. Okay, it has a section in here that says try a taffy pull. When my kids were little, we did this. We made a mixture that was very close to tasting like a Tootsie Roll. And what we did was everybody greased their hands up with butter. And in order to make the taffy the consistency that you want, it has to be pulled back and forth. So you get two people and y'all pull it back and forth and hand it back and then pull it, and it makes a smooth consistency when you're done. But that's something fun to do with kids during Christmas time. If you're ever interested in that, you should look up recipe for homemade taffy, and then you can have a taffy pull at your house. Okay, this is a section on hard candies. And if you... Okay, well, I'm sorry. I'm reading ahead. I've got two things going on in my head. First of all, hard candies are so fun to make. My special favorite are cinnamon. At Christmas time, making a cinnamon-flavored little lollipop shaped like a Christmas tree is just a good memory to me, and I love that. But like I was saying earlier about the weather, here is a part that will cement what I just said. It says, when the weather watcher in the country family steps outdoors to look at the sky before retiring and comes in predicting a fair day tomorrow, candy makers take notice, especially if you want to make hard candies, since they have a remarkable affinity for water. They absorb it from the air and quickly become sticky. The first step to success in making hard candy is choosing a fair day with low humidity. So that just kind of cements what I was saying earlier. Old-fashioned stained glass. That looks so good. Almond paste. This is flour, half and half, blanched almonds, almond extract, and confectioner's sugar. So I'm supposing that this, it doesn't say that it's marzipan, but isn't marzipan almond paste, isn't that the same thing? I love marzipan. And let's see. Fruit and nut rolls, heirloom fruit confections. Oh, popcorn balls, honeyed popcorn, caramel popcorn, oven-made caramel corn, farmhouse popcorn balls, popcorn nibble-ons, Scotch candy bars, chocolate cereal loaf that has oat puffs, rice cereal, walnuts, corn syrup, sugar, salt, vanilla, and chocolate chips. Orange chocolate balls. Oh. Now, this is similar to a recipe that I've made before, but I don't use chocolate. You use vanilla wafers, confectioner's sugar, cocoa, orange juice concentrate, and walnuts, and you mix everything together and roll it into balls. But the only difference is I don't use the chocolate in mine. Those are good, really good. Oh my goodness. Here's a recipe for haystacks. This is something that we make all the time. As a matter of fact, I was thinking today I would like to make a video and show y'all how to make these haystacks. Let me know if you're still watching, if you want me to make these for you on a video sometime. All it is Well, now this recipe is different than mine. This calls for butterscotch flavored morsels, salted cashews, and then chow mein noodles. But I always use peanut butter in mine. So there's the difference. They remind me of the 4th of July when I was a kid. I love those. Okay, you still with me? Have you fallen asleep yet? I've got 3 more to show you. I'm trying to figure out the next one. I think I'm going to save this one for last. We'll show this one next. This is the Country Fair Cookbook. Every Recipe a Blue Ribbon Winner by the food editors of Farm Journal. Now this one is edited by Elise W. Manning. So this one doesn't have Nell B. Nichols' name listed on the front yet anyway. Let's see. But she was a food editor for the Farm Journal, so maybe she let somebody else take over. This one was published in 1975. And let me read you this introduction because this is fun. It says, "Hi-ho, come to the fair." Every year from July to October, more than 70 million people walk through the main gate of the fairgrounds. Fairs are exciting events from New Hampshire to California. Band music reverberates as vendors display clusters of balloons and sell big puffs of cotton candy. The Ferris wheels are turning in the air, and merry-go-round calliope music can be heard above the crowds. There are a staggering number of exhibits to see, from the fat calves groomed to the hoof to gee-whiz farm machinery and art shows. One of the most popular spots is the building that houses the exhibits of food specialties entered in with hopes of a blue ribbon or at least a white ribbon. Of course, if a winner comes home with a distinguished purple ribbon, which is awarded for an outstanding entry, that is the ultimate. Usually the blue ribbon is awarded for excellent quality, far above average. The red ribbon indicates an above average entry, a white ribbon average quality. Standards vary from fair to fair, as we discovered when we visited food exhibits the country over. Some fairs are extremely tough, and only the very finest entries get a chance at even a white ribbon. But a white ribbon at one fair might be a blue ribbon awarded at another fair, where the judging is not so severe. Farm women take an important part in the fair exhibits. Many have been planning all year exactly which of their prized recipes they will enter and hopefully win the coveted blue ribbon. There's usually a small cash award too, but that's not the important factor in competing in the fair. It's the challenge, satisfaction, and pride in winning a blue ribbon. It's so true. When you start entering things in your county fair and you start winning a ribbon, it gets in your blood. And you have to do it every year. I've entered our little Stanley County Fair for years and years and got my kids to do it too. And you talk about fun. It is just great fun. I've never won a purple ribbon though. I didn't have that excellent quality ever, I guess. But let's see. So chapter 1 is Homemade Breads, Country Fair Bounty. And it's talking about how to judge perfect yeast bread. So that's good to know. And then how to judge perfect muffins. And then it gives all kinds of recipes for Genevieve's white bread, delicious white bread, blue ribbon white bread. And is there anything? Okay, I'm looking at her recipe here, trying to figure out what her secret is. She uses dry milk, sugar, and 1/4 of a teaspoon of ground ginger. So that's interesting. I may have to throw some ginger in my bread next time and see if it helps the flavor just a little bit. So then there's muffins, sour cream cinnamon rolls. Wow. refrigerator butterscotch rolls. Then donuts. Oh my goodness, spicy donuts. Sugar-crusted rhubarb squares. Golden crunch coffee cake. Heavens to Betsy. Pineapple carrot cake. Let's see what else they have. They have angel food cake. Do you like angel food cake? I'm not a real big fan of it. Maple chiffon cake. Oh, now I love orange chiffon cake. There we go with that orange theme again. But I've never heard of maple chiffon cake. Oh, pound cakes. Spiced up apple cider pound cake. Oh my, I've got to try to make this. I'm going to fold that page down because that looks delicious. Have y'all ever heard of cheerwine? Do you know what cheerwine is? It's a North Carolina drink. It tastes like Dr. Pepper. Well, cheerwine pound cake is a specialty around here. And when I first moved to North Carolina, there were two things that were introduced. Well, there were three things that were introduced to me that I'd never had before. One was a cheerwine pound cake. The second one was red coleslaw. We always used a mayonnaise base growing up, but people use tomatoes here in North Carolina, so that red coleslaw. And the third thing was liver mush. I'd never had liver mush in my life till I moved to North Carolina. I love it. I love liver, so liver mush was good to me too. There are all kinds of pound cake recipes, but I'm not seeing any that give the addition of a soft drink. Like our cheerwine pound cakes around here. Anytime there's a fundraiser for a church, they usually have baked chicken, red slaw, and cheerwine pound cake up for sale. It's always good. And let's see. There's a section for homemade and handsome cakes. So I think handsome cakes are decorated. Decorated pretty cakes. And then homemade cookies, the fair's finest. Chocolate chip blonde brownies. Chocolate fair cookies. This is a 3-generation recipe that is a real family favorite. And I'm glad to see this. They put cinnamon in their chocolate chip cookies. I put cinnamon in my chocolate chip cookies too. I don't think you can go wrong with cinnamon. Chinese almond cookies. I bet those are good. And chewy oatmeal drops. Frosted chocolate drops. And then now they've moved on to bars. So they've got pineapple oatmeal bars, Danish apple bars, rich butterscotch cookies, German spice cookies. Ooh, that's good. And then let's see what else. Homemade pies that deserve their ribbons. Apple pie, whole wheat apple pie, custard apple tart. Now, let's look at this real quick. Custard apple tart, apple jelly, heavy cream. Oh, I bet that's good too. I'm gonna have to mark that one too. My family's gonna be eating good this week. 'Cause I'm gonna make some of these recipes that we're looking at. Oh, okay. Old-fashioned vinegar pie. Now, here in the Southeast, we call this chess pie. We didn't call it vinegar pie. We call it chess pie. Well, and here we go. This says California chess pie. So let's look at this. Oh, that's very different. This calls for walnuts and raisins and no vinegar. Okay, vinegar pie. Let me read you the ingredients. Half a cup of butter, 1 1/4 cups of sugar, 2 tablespoons of vinegar, 3 eggs, 1 teaspoon of vanilla, and then 1 unbaked pie shell. Now the only difference is with how we make it is we put a teaspoon of cornmeal in ours, and so that's how we make a chess pie. I don't know where that name comes from, chess, but it is good, and it doesn't seem like Thanksgiving without a chess pie. And then it ends with old-fashioned butterscotch pie, coconut cream pie, and creamy custard pies. Such a delicious, delicious little cookbook. So that is the Country Fair cookbook by the editors of Farm Journal. So we've got 2 more. These, they all have their own specialties. They've got the freezing and canning cookbook next. This one is extremely helpful if you put up a big garden or you have access to somebody who does, and or maybe somebody who you buy a big side of beef from and you need to prepare the food or the meat and freeze it. I'll just read you part of the index here, and I'll tell you just a couple of things about this too. It just says at the beginning here, freezing foods at home. Country cooking never was so good as it is today. That's what people who sit down to farm meals say. Ask the cooks why, and they agree that fresh-tasting frozen foods have much to do with it. They also like the dollars and cents savings. Freezers take farm products when they're most plentiful and at their best and keep them fresh for months. So it's just talking about how you can take the steps to successful freezing so that things don't get freezer burned, and then refreezing foods, packaging, sealing, and labeling, and quantities that freezers will hold. So it's very valuable because you can save a lot of money if you freeze things. You buy things in bulk even. You can freeze, if you get a lot of chicken on sale, you can freeze that. And then it talks about chapter 2, fruits and vegetables, and how you can prepare those. And it even, a lot of times it gives recipes, like it goes into meals, and which is kind of nice because this says heat and eat frozen potato treats, and it even has a section on how to render lard. This makes me happy. This is a recipe for it says wonderful lard cakes. So you remember when I taught y'all how to make biscuits, I said that I preferred using lard over vegetable shortening. And the reason is that if you think about vegetable shortening, it has to go through a pretty strong chemical process to take vegetable seeds and extract whatever they do from it to make vegetable shortening. And I realized that getting lard out also is a process. However, getting lard out of meat, all you're doing is taking fat from an animal and rendering it down, which just means cooking it down and letting all of the fat come off of that, and then saving that, kind of like saving bacon grease, really. So that's how you render your lard. Lard does have a very different flavor than vegetable shortening, so I guess that's the reason why people don't like to use it, lard in baking, because it kind of takes on that lard flavor. But if you think about the process that lard goes through versus shortening, I'd rather eat the lard because the process just isn't so involved, and I think it's better for your body to eat stuff like that. But anyway, funny enough, there's a whole section on lard cakes, and let's see, it says no collection of Farm Journal's cake recipes is complete without including lard cakes made by the meringue method, invented in our countryside kitchens. They are treasures in hundreds of recipes filed across the country. Cakes they produce continue to bring happiness and compliments, and they are never better than when teamed with the frostings and glazings designed especially to glamorize them. Do try these cakes. So they have an orange lard cake, and then they have a yellow lard cake, and then a fudge pudding cake that all call for lard. So all you're doing is just, it's a cake recipe, but instead of using your vegetable shortening, you are using lard. And each one calls for 1/3 of a cup of lard in it instead. So I've made one of these before. I think I made the chocolate, and it was good. And let's see what else. Oh, they have crepes. Arizona chicken stuffed crepes. That looks delicious. So, and then they give directions on how to freeze. And then they also tell you how to can, which is nice. Sterilizing your lids. And they teach you how to can without sugar. Canning with sugar, canning fruits, and then making pickles and relishes and chili sauce, cinnamon jelly, yum, jams, marmalade. And then this one, let's see, this is curing meat, poultry, and fish. So they're teaching you how to cure your ham and storing cured meats. Pennsylvania Dutch sausage, and it teaches you how to can meats too. Have you ever eaten canned meat? My friend Lori in Tennessee, her family used to butcher a hog every year, and her grandmother would can sausage. She would, I don't know how she did it. I've never canned meat before, but it was really good. It had a very good flavor to it, very distinct. All right, I've saved this one for last. This is probably my favorite one. This is the Thrifty Cook Farm Journal Cookbook. And you can see I've made little notes all over it because I love this one best. This one, in the front of it, it says nutrients the body needs, and it talks about protein, calcium, iron, iodine, vitamin A, thiamine, ascorbic acid, which is vitamin C, riboflavin, niacin, vitamin D, carbohydrates, fats, and water. And I love that it says this in here because iodine is so very important. And it says iodine helps the thyroid gland to work properly. And some places that you can get iodine, it says iodized salt or saltwater fish and other seafood. A lot of us are missing iodine in our diets, and that's why there are so many thyroid issues. This one, I love this book. This one was published in 1974. And the table of contents include cooking with taste and thrift, homemade mixes save time and money. I love the homemade mixes section. Economical meat dishes, chicken, turkey, and fish, cheese and eggs, hearty main dish soups, vegetables, nutritious and necessary, thrifty salads, and then satisfying simple desserts. Okay, I have already made 2 things out of this cookbook this week. So she's talking in the beginning here about the importance of meal planning. And that's just timeless. We talk about that today like it's something new. Everything old is new again, and just like the Bible verse from Ecclesiastes that says there's nothing new under the sun. That's my favorite Bible verse. It's some people take that as negative. It's not negative. It just, to me, it means that, we've been through things before. We're going to go through them again. We survived. We're going to be okay. So anyway, I just love that Bible verse, and I love thinking about that because we tend to think that we've invented things, or some of the troubles that we have now, nobody's ever experienced them before, but they have. Nothing new under the sun. Anyway, how in the world does that apply to meal planning? So meal planning, our grandmothers, great-grandmothers probably meal planned as indicated in this book, and we do that today, and that's how you can save money on your groceries. All right, we'll get cozy here for this last little book here. All right, so they are talking about cooking with thrift, and I love this part. It says, what can I do to make a shopping list that simplifies shopping? I love it that it says this because this is exactly what I do, especially if I'm sending my husband or one of the kids to the grocery store. It says, learn the order items appear in the aisles of the supermarket. Make out your shopping list in the same order. You will avoid backtracking, which will save time and exposure to tempting foods. Try to avoid impulse buying. It can wreck the budget, but keep an open mind for genuine specials. There is a little section on little tips. It says, I use the drained potato water plus dry milk as the liquid for mashing potatoes. I use the leftover syrup from a jar of sweet or dill pickles. It's delicious poured over a ham before baking, or I use it to thin mayonnaise or to marinate onion rings to add to a tossed salad. I try to eliminate rich desserts and serve fresh fruits in season to cut costs. It also helps us with our weight problems. I use non-dry fat milk in cooking. Also, we have many oven meals in which I bake at least the main dish and dessert side by side, saving on electricity. Oh, somebody sprouts alfalfa seeds and beans to add the nutritious sprouts to salads. Smart. This is smart. I don't buy non-food items at the grocery store. We can get them elsewhere at a discount. That's smart. So, like, don't buy your shampoo and conditioner and dog food at the grocery store if you can avoid it. I love this next section. This is homemade seasoning mixes. And so they've got every seasoning mix under the sun. So, for instance, they have a spaghetti sauce mix. So it calls for instant minced onion, parsley flakes, cornstarch, green pepper flakes, salt, instant minced garlic, sugar, and some Italian seasoning. And it says, combine all ingredients, place on a 6-inch square of aluminum foil, and seal airtight. Repeat recipe to make as many packages as desired. Makes one package. And then it goes on. This is nice too about this cookbook. It'll give you a mix recipe, and then right below it, it'll give you a recipe to use that spaghetti sauce mix. So this says spaghetti with meat sauce, and so it's ground beef, and then you use your package of spaghetti sauce mix, and then a 6-ounce can of tomato paste, water, and then spaghetti and Parmesan cheese. And I mean, it's kind of fun to think about making these mixes, but if you can just remember to put those things together when you're making a spaghetti sauce. You don't have to go through all the trouble. That seems like a lot of trouble to go through just to keep one little mix on hand. If you were making it in bulk, it would be okay, but that seems like a lot of trouble just to do one thing like that. They have a Sloppy Joe seasoning mix, meatloaf seasoning mix, chili seasoning mix. Let's see. Taco mix, white sauce mix. So you use dry milk, flour, salt, and butter. And then you can use that to make a potato soup. Oh, they have a Spanish rice seasoning mix. Chicken flavor mix for rice. So you'll use chicken broth, instant chicken broth like the dry, parsley flakes, minced onions, celery flakes, sugar and salt, beef. And then they have a seasoned coating mix. So that's breadcrumbs, flour, salt, paprika, poultry seasoning, pepper, and then half a cup of shortening. So it's going to be like a coarse crumble when you make that. And let's see. Oh, onion cheese dip mix. So to make that, you would mix together instant minced onion, grated Parmesan cheese, instant beef broth mix, and garlic salt, and then mix that together with some sour cream. Curry dip mix. That would be good. Minced onion, curry powder, minced garlic, and salt. And then they have cocoa mix. So there's all sorts of little mixes that they've taught you how to make, which I thought was fun. And even they even teach you how to make a cake mix. So you can mix together flour, baking powder, sugar, salt, cream of tartar, and then your shortening. And then if you want to make a cake, you take 3 cups of that homemade cake mix, add more sugar to it, milk, 2 eggs, and vanilla, and then you can make a cake. I may try that sometime just to see how it works out. Then they have a recipe for country-style granola. Good night, baby. I love you too. You sleep good too. My little sweetheart's going to bed. Okay. Economical pudding mixes. Ooh. Vanilla pudding. So to make a pudding mix, you just use sugar, non-fat dry milk, cornstarch, and salt. And then, so say you want to make a vanilla pudding, you use 1 1/4 cup of that pudding mix. Mix in water, butter, an egg, and vanilla. Have y'all ever made your own homemade pudding before? You talk about delicious, and it's so easy. And once you make your own, you'll have a hard time going back to the boxed kind. I'll have to teach you how to make that sometime. Okay, this is a frozen sauce cubes for vegetables. I think that this is always fun. So this is a recipe for tomato sauce cubes. It says sauce cubes are instant, no need to thaw before using. So you can make these sauce cubes and put them in ice trays and freeze them, and then pull them out if you need them, like lemon butter sauce cubes. There is a restaurant in Charlotte called Beef and Bottle, and it's been named one of the best steak restaurants in North Carolina for years and years. And their steaks have the most wonderful flavor. So we asked the chef one time how they got that flavor, and they said what they do is they mix together melted butter and red wine and then they freeze that into cubes. As much as wine can be frozen anyway, alcohol's hard to freeze. And then when the steak comes off the fire, they set one of those butter and red wine cubes on top of that to melt on that hot piece of meat. It is so good. So we started doing that at home, and it is so good. They even have cheese sauce cubes, curry sauce cubes. Very cool. So now they've got a whole section with salad dressings. So they've got a basic French dressing and a special herb French dressing, mayonnaise whip. And then here's a section with economical meat dishes. So they have economy Swiss steak, Lone Star beef soup, continental pot roast, short ribs with noodles, 4-hour beef stew. That's making my mouth water, y'all. Oh, that sounds so good. Barbecue meatballs, meatloaf, down east goulash. Then they have a beef lasagna recipe, beef and sauerkraut skillet. Let's see what else is in here. I'll tell you about some of the recipes that I've made this week already in here in just a minute. But I did want to tell you about this recipe here. I saw this one time. I made it, and then I saw the word reference before. This recipe it's called Minnesota chicken and corn hot dish. And that term intrigued me. Hot dish. What's a hot dish? Well, I found out that that's just another way of saying casserole. We call everything a casserole around here when you mix everything together, but evidently in Minnesota they call it a hot dish. In Wisconsin too, because I saw another recipe for a Wisconsin hot dish. But I've made this before, and it is so good. The Minnesota chicken corn hot dish calls for onion, green pepper, butter, cream-style corn, milk, chicken broth, egg, coarse cracker crumbs, diced cooked chicken, and then salt and pepper. And it says, you just mix it all together and bake it. But it says memo to meal planner. That's what's so nice about all these recipes. They give you suggestions on serving. It says serve with buttered peas and carrots, hot rolls, and your favorite molded cranberry salad. Cottage cheese cupcakes are good for desserts. So we're going to talk about those cottage cheese cupcakes in just a minute too. So that was a really good recipe. Company tuna lasagna. So it looks like you're going to use tuna fish in place of your beef. I don't know if I would like that very much. Let's see. There's a seafood macaroni bake. Okay, here we go. Wisconsin hot dish. That's what I wanted to tell you all about too. So this calls for rice, corn, tuna, American cheese, cream of mushroom soup, cottage cheese, stuffing mix. I think that might be too much with the stuffing mix and the rice. I think I'd use one or the other. But it says serve this Sunday best casserole with a green vegetable or scalloped tomatoes and rye bread. I bet that would be good. I'll have to make that sometime. And then here's breads, recipes, and bean soups. Let's see what else. Lots of molded salads, MOLDED, so like in a mold. It's a gelatin mold salad. Did y'all ever eat those? Or do you still? That used to be so popular in the 50s, because I've seen the magazines and the recipes, but then also when I was a little girl, I knew my great-granddaddy He lived to be 96. And we would go to a family reunion every year. And I remember one year watching him. I didn't like, when you're a little kid, especially when I was that young, I was probably only about 5. I didn't like for my food to touch. I don't care anymore, but when I was little, I didn't want it mixed together. And I remember being at a family reunion and watching him eat a piece of ham with a molded strawberry salad on it. And I thought, oh, you can't eat strawberry dessert with a piece of ham. But anyway, I don't know why I had that memory, but that was when I first remember a molded salad. And those used to be very popular. You could even get them at the grocery stores. They were like in a little ring shape. And it was usually a mixture of like strawberry jello and some pieces of fruit and Cool Whip, something like that. And then it was, with a jello mold. So do you eat those at all? Have you ever had one before? But there's a lot of recipes in here for a tomato aspic. That was very popular in the South a long time ago. A lot of these things call for cottage cheese. And one thing that I discovered in here, I've made 2 different things this week, with one with cottage cheese and one with ricotta cheese. So the first one I made was it Tuesday? I believe it was Tuesday. That was May 1st. I made ricotta cheese strawberry muffins. They were so good. I didn't realize that ricotta cheese and cottage cheese are, when you use those to bake with, you're getting a lot more protein, but also it makes the dish lighter somehow. It makes your bread lighter. So I made those muffins with the ricotta cheese. They were excellent, and I ate so many of them, and I didn't feel heavy. Usually when you eat a muffin, you feel really heavy. It's like a bomb in your gut. And I felt light. I didn't feel heavy at all. But the second thing I made this week were cottage cheese dessert pancakes. My family loved these. I think I'm going to make these a lot more often. It says great off the grill dessert to make at the last minute. Now, I didn't make it. I guess we kind of had dessert for supper one night. So what you do is you take flour, baking powder, salt, 2 cups of cottage cheese, 4 eggs, and milk. You mix it together, and then you put it, I cook mine on a griddle. They're not like a regular pancake. They're in the shape of a pancake, but the texture and the flavor is very different. So what I did was I just got a big bowl of fruit. I mixed together blueberries and raspberries, a little bit of vanilla extract, and a small amount of sugar. And we served that with our cottage cheese pancakes. My family loved them. We ate every last one of them. And I got to thinking how good it would be to roll those up and dip them in marinara sauce. That would be a really good thing to eat with it too. So that was the second thing that I found in this cookbook that I really liked. But we're coming to the end here. The only other thing I wanted to tell you about is in the back of it. It tells you about retail cuts of beef, where they come from, and how to cook them. So if you're ever wondering where, your short ribs come from, or your eye of round, or your chuck roast on your beef, you can look at this and figure that out. Same goes for retail cuts of pork, where they come from, like where your Boston butt comes from, and all of that. So listen, if you're still awake and watching this, thank you for staying with me till the end. And if there was anything that piqued your interest, or you would like for me to make any of those recipes that you heard me mention, let me know. I would love to make it for you. Y'all are all precious to me, and I sincerely appreciate each and every one of you who leave me a comment or a like, or just watch. Even if you don't say or do anything, but you do watch the channel, please know I sincerely appreciate you. Y'all sleep good tonight, and I'll talk to you soon, my friends. Bye-bye.